All right, we're going to catch you later and see what else you're up to.
We'll still be here.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Frey Farms.
Frey Produce is fine.
Frey Produce, and we came up, and what I do is I say, is there any fry here? And they'll look around, and whichever boy is here, whichever man is here. And today we have John. Now, you've met John before. Are you head man of construction?
One of many, yes.
One of many. One of how many?
There's 5 of us.
5?
Yep.
5 boys?
4 boys and 1 girl.
Okay, all right. And there are a lot of the tractor's doing what?
That particular tractor is he's building a berm so that the water from the field doesn't come into the building, and so we're trying to.
You're built in a low swag here, aren't you?
Yeah.
And you put how many loads of dirt out there? I saw at least 400.
Well, there's probably about 900, going to be 1,000 inside the building.
Really? I thought I was exaggerating.
No.
Really? 1,000 loads?
Yeah. And then we got to bring this dirt up around here, up to the concrete floor that's inside. So we still got another 4 foot of dirt to bring up, and then that's going to come out to about 75 foot, and there'll be a slope up to that 4 foot.
Okay, now.
And that's going to take about half as much dirt.
Well, have you got time to give us about some,
Sure,
and
I'd
let
love
us
to.
just look inside
Absolutely.
at what's going on? Now, explain to me what all this big concrete abutment is doing here.
These are a couple dry docks, and that's where materials, packaging materials that will come in for what we're going to place our corn and what we're going to place our cantaloupes and watermelons into. So that'd be like
cartons of
cantaloupe bins, wire-bound corn crates, RPCs, returnable plastic containers.
Okay.
We'll be bringing in packaging mainly, and pallets. That will be a pallet dock.
Okay.
And so this is more of a dry area where we'll be bringing in packaging.
Now, will farmers be bringing in truckloads of things? Will they come in like that to you from farms around?
Well, they won't on a semi. They may be on a trailer or or of some sort.
Bring in a trailer of what they are.
Right, and then we'll have lines, conveyor lines that they'll pull up their equipment next to and unload their product onto like a little conveyor on the outside of the building.
Do you have any idea how much acreage, how many acres of produce will be coming in? Do you know that yet?
Tentatively, we've got scheduled between 300 and 400 acres of cantaloupe, 400 acres of watermelons, 400 to 500 acres of sweet corn. And depending on weather and those issues, that's going to end up determining exactly how many we come. But those are pretty good estimates.
Okay. All right, now I see a lot of pipes sticking up through the ground over there. What's going to be in
this area
there?
right here will be employee restrooms, hand washing stations, hydrants, and men and women's restroom. And beyond that, in that other corner, that will be some offices, and those additional pipes will be
so that
office.
corner's for offices, restrooms, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now, what's going on back here with all of the?
I can show you. This right here is a drive-through.
Don't you kid me, that's a hole in the wall.
There'll be a nice sized door there that'll let equipment come in and out.
So doors will be here. This is the height.
This is my working floor, yeah. Okay. And down there, that's still built up, but we're saving that as our last fill.
But that will be up to this height too.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another several hundred loads a day.
Well, maybe 50. We've got the majority of what we've got in here now. Now we've got base rock coming in. Concrete's going to fill up a lot of that area.
All right.
So over here we'll be packing watermelons that come in from the field through a conveyor off of each side of the conveyor over in this area. We'll have bins and pallets stored in this area, and then there'll be another drive through there, and on the other side of that drive will be the cantaloupe packing line.
So 3 big drive-throughs. that will be
two on this end, and then and they will marry with two lines, watermelon and cantaloupe. These are lines. This is a dry area of the warehouse where product will come in on the backside, and it will get placed into bins, and then the watermelons will be taking to the dry storage area in front of those 6 loading docks that will be over there, and then we'll have a cooler that the cantaloupes will be taking into in that section of the building.
Okay. Now, when you say this is the dry area, this is where they will unload first. Is that what?
Yeah, this is the first part of unloading, and then so they'll bring in the bulk product here. Then we'll package it into bins or cartons on the watermelons and cantaloupes.
Okay.
Now the sweet corn will come in from the field through that door down there, and it will arrive here. We'll field pack it, and it'll arrive already on pallets. So then we'll have fork trucks that lift the pallets of corn up and take into our hydro cooler. This building needs insulation. There was only about a 1/4 inch of insulation. I think it was like this building had like an R13. And what we're doing is we're adding simple saver insulation, which is about an 8-inch insulation. It's got about an R value in the 30s. So hopefully by the time we get done in the dry area, we should have a pretty good R value in the 30s for the building.
Are you going to do the whole building?
We have to do the whole thing. There's not enough insulation in this building, so we're having to
retrofit
the building.
It'll be hard to keep this cool with all of these.
That's why that's why we're putting the insulation in.
Yeah.
We have to insulate, and it would have been easier had it during the process of building it, but we're having to come back in and form up, and I'll show you that over there, and it looks good, and they're doing a real good job of that.
Boy, that is some insulation.
Yes, it is.
How many inches? 8, did you say?
8-inch insulation. There's probably 50,000 square foot of it that'll go into the ceiling, and then there's probably equally as much of that goes on the sidewalls. Now they're installing it up there. They're placing it, putting bands to hold it, and then they'll come in and put a wrap that'll hold it even more.
Okay.
Now, this is the loading dock area. We'll have 6 loading docks into what we're calling the dry area. So that's where like watermelons and dry material, dry product will come in and out. And then over here, this is basically, right here will be a cooler wall. Right here, this is going to be a wall. It's going to be a 4-inch paneled cooler wall. And from this section, all on this side and this corner of the building will be all cooler.
Okay, now a cooler wall. You mean when the produce first comes in, it's going to be cool somehow?
Yeah, the cantaloupes will get packed on a line over there. They'll come off of that line. They'll come down an alley, and they'll enter into a door that's going to be right there, and they'll enter a cantaloupe cold storage area. And there's basically 2 coolers here, one for corn, one for cantaloupe.
All right, so you are anticipating corn and cantaloupes at the same time?
Yes, ma'am, and watermelons.
Watermelons.
Watermelons will be packed over there, staging over here.
Around here.
Cantaloupes will be coming packed over there, brought down this direction, and enter the cantaloupe cooler there. And this is the corn cooler. Now the corn.
Right. Now, corn cooler. You're talking about ears of corn with shucks on them.
Yes, ma'am.
I see concrete forms already.
Yep.
What have you done?
Now this is a corn hydro cooler, and what a corn hydro cooler does is we want to bring the corn in from the field as quick as we can and get it cold.
Fairly early morning.
Right. Well, yes, ma'am. Preferably by 2 o'clock in the day, we should have all our corn picked that we're going to pick for the day.
Okay.
We're going to bring that corn in, and as soon as it hits our warehouse, we're going to put it on this hydro cooler. Now we're going to stack those pallets on top of this hydro cooler. There'll be a grating, a stainless steel grating, and inside that hydro cooler there'll be water circulating around, and once we stack the pallets on it, we'll flip a switch and water will create a waterfall from about 5 foot from the ceiling. Will create a waterfall, and it will rain down ice cold water 34-degree water over that corn. And what we're trying to do...
As it's on top of these pallets?
Yes, ma'am.
You're going to have it rain on
Rain on the pallets.
34-degree
suspended
water?
over the hydro cooler.
And where are you going to have, what are you going to have up there that's going to, a mist thing, a thing that's going to just let it
Some 6-inch pipes with holes drilled on top of them that shoot the water up in the air, and whenever it falls down, it creates rain.
We've got to see this. Oh man, we've got to see it rain 34-degree water in July inside this building. You're not going to be able to keep these workers that are sweating in 110-degree stuff out of here.
Actually, the doors, whenever we're opening the doors of these coolers, in combination with the cooling that's escaping from the cooler kind of getting into this part of the area, it's going to create a really nice environment for the workers to work in, because the cooling from the coolers that escapes from the coolers while we got the doors open, plus the added insulation we have in the ceiling.
We may all want to move in out here. This is really going to be, that's going to be a sight to see.
Yeah.
I want to see the water lines. I want to see it really work when you get it.
It's going to be a sight to see, and I'm looking forward to showing it to you.
When do you anticipate your first load of anything coming in?
You know, it's all up to Mother Nature, but we're targeting around the middle of June, so we will have 4th of July sweet corn here.
Okay. Well, this is amazing. This is amazing, and to hear about that, only the corn gets cooled with this.
With the water, yes, ma'am.
The hydro plume, did you call it?
It's hydro cooler.
Hydro cooler.
Yeah. So what we're doing. What we're trying to do with the corn is the corn, once you pull it from the stalk, the sugars in the corn, the sweet corn, starts to turn to starch. And so we have to stop that process as quick as possible. And the only way to stop sugars from turning to starch in corn is reducing the temperature of it right away. So if you had a garden and you were picking your sweet corn, it's recommended to get that in your house and cool down as quickly as possible, like clearing out your sink, putting ice in it and water, and taking that corn and putting it in your sink. And then once you leave it sit there for about an hour or so that corn, you bring the temperature of that corn down to 38, 36 degrees. And then what that does is it suspends the process for the sugars turning into starch. Then you take that out and you put it in your crisper. That corn should stay as good as you shucked it off the stalk 2 weeks later, provided you did that style of cooling that corn. Now, of course, there's some maintenance that goes along with it. So whenever you take that corn every maybe 6 hours or 12 hours, you'll need to get the husk a little wet. You might want to bring it back and run it under some cold water and then put it back in your refrigerator, because the husk, when the husk dries out, that's also taking starches and sugars and turning them into starch. So you don't want to let that husk. That's why when you go buy a cooler in a store and you see they got the misters around the green veg, that's the sweet corn, and you see them misting, and sometimes you get a little wet and they're on automatic timers. Well, that's what's going on. Those grocery stores are trying to keep the outside of the husk of that corn moist so it doesn't inevitably take those sugars and turn them into starch. So what we're doing here is a larger process of that situation. We're bringing the corn in, we're hydro-cooling it, and we're putting a high volume of water over it so it decreases the temperature really quick down to a level for which the sugars doesn't rapidly turn to starch. And then we stage it into our cold room, and before it goes out onto a truck, if we have to store it for a little time, we'll come in and we'll sprinkle it with some water just so that we keep the husk wet. And before it goes onto a truck, we'll put ice on top of the pallet, and that ice in transit, it might take 1 day or 2 days to a distribution center. Once we put the ice on top of the pallet, in transit that ice will melt and create a little mini micro rainfall on top of it. And so that's, again, the cooler that it's hauled on is maintaining a 34 to 36 degree temperature, plus it's getting a little rainfall in transit, and the distribution center receives that corn in, then they ship it out to their stores, and that's how we're able to get customers fresh sweet corn, is by maintaining that cold chain.
Okay. All right, now see what you've learned today with Time for Talk camera. You've heard a man talking to you about sugar turning into starch. and you didn't know that way. You knew to get it in the fridge quickly, but you didn't know what was happening really. John, it's been great. Hey, this is